Good morning, fourth graders. Today is Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. And we are back here for the city of Ember. When we stopped, Dune and Lena were down in the pipeworks and they had found that scroll E that marked something in the piece of paper that Poppy had found and she had been eating and munching on. And so they were trying to figure out some of the different words and some of the different instructions that it gave to them. And they went down and they got down on their bellies and they saw that scrolled E in the rock. And so Dune says, I see something, I see something. He scrambled to his feet. You do it, he said. Look at the riverbank right below us. Lena did as he had. She lay down and pulled herself forward until her head was over the edge. 8 feet or so below her, she saw the black water churning by. She tucked her chin in and looked at the riverbank. It was a sheer rock wall, straight up and down, slick with water spray. And at first, that was all she saw, but she kept looking, and before long, she could make out a short iron bar bolted into the bank. One below the next, almost directly below her. They were like the rungs of a ladder. Wait a minute. They were a ladder, she realized. The bars provided a way to climb down the riverbank. Not a very appealing way. The bars looked slippery and the water below was so terribly fast. And because of the dimness and the flying spray, she couldn't actually see if there was a ledge at the bottom or not. But the E was clearly an E and the bars were clearly a ladder. This must be the right place. Who'll go first, said Dune. You can, Lena said, getting to her feet and stepping away. All right. Dune turned so that his back was to the river, and he eased himself carefully over the rocks, feeling for the first rung with his toes. Lena watched as he sank out of sight, little by little, and after a few minutes his voice called up, I'm down! Now you come! Lena inched backward, just as Dune had, letting one foot dangle over the edge lower and lower, until it too touched the first rung of the ladder. She shifted her weight to that foot, and clinging with cold fingers to the ridge in the rock, she lowered herself slowly until she was standing on the rung with both her feet. Her heart was beating so hard she was afraid it would shake her fingers loose from their grip. Now she had to move downward. She felt for the next rung with her foot and found it, let herself down. It would have been easy if it hadn't been for the river waiting below to swallow her. You're almost there, called Dune. His voice came from right below her. There's a ledge. One more rung and you'll feel it. She did. She did feel it solid beneath her foot. For a second she stood there, still clutching the ladder. The surging water was only inches below her now. Don't think about it, she told herself. She moved sideways 2 steps to stand next to Dune, and there in front of them was a rectangular space carved out of the river wall. Rather like the entry of a building, it was perhaps 8 feet wide and 8 feet high and would have been invisible from anywhere else in the pipeworks. You had to have climbed down the riverbank to actually see it. They stepped into this entry hall and walked a few steps. Enough light to see by came from the tunnel behind them, and Lena stopped. It's a door, she said. What? Said Dune. The water roared so loudly they had to shout to be heard. It's a door, Lena yelled happily. Yes, said Dune, I see it. At the end of the passage was a wide, solid-looking door. It was dull gray, mottled with greenish and brownish blotches that looked like mildew. Lena put her palms against it. It was metal and it felt cold. The door even had a metal handle, and just below the handle was a keyhole. Lena reached into the pocket of her pants for her copy of the instructions. She unfolded it, and Dune looked over her shoulder. Together they squinted at the paper in the dim light from the main tunnel. This is the part. Right here, she said, pointing. Number 3. Addy down Iverb Inc. to edge appear 8 low. Number 4. Axe to the wat, fine door of bow, key, hand small steel pan, right, rem, E, open do. Lena ran her finger along line 3. This must be something down riverbank to ledge approximately 8 feet below. That's what we've just done. Then 4 is something about backs to the water, find a door, something. Backs to the water, find a door. And then key behind, that must be a key behind. And then there's the small steel pan. Do you see a pan? Dune stood studying the paper. It says right. We should look to the right of the door. And quite easily, they found it. It wasn't a pan at all, but a small square of steel embedded in the wall. A steel panel, said Lena. She ran her fingers across it and felt a dent to one side. When she pressed there, the panel sprang open easily and silently, as if it were glad to have finally been found. Inside, a silver key was hanging on a hook. Lena reached for it and then drew her hand back. Shall I do it, she said. Shall I do it or shall you? You do it, said Doom. So she took the key from its hook and put it in the keyhole. She turned it and felt a click, and she grasped the door handle and pushed, but nothing happened. She pushed harder. It won't budge, she said. Maybe it opens outward, said Doom. Lena pulled. This door still did not move. It has to open, she said. We unlocked it. She pulled and pushed and hauled on the handle, and the door moved, not inward or outward, but finally sideways. Oh, this is how it goes, cried Lena. She pulled the handle to the left, and with a deep rasping sound, the door slid away into a slot in the wall. Behind it was a space of utter darkness. They stared. Lena had expected to see something when the door opened. She had thought there would be light behind it, or a path, or a road, or something. Do we go in? Asked Lena. Doon nodded. Lena stepped across the threshold, and the air had a dank, stuffy smell to it. She turned to the right and put her right hand against the wall. The wall was smooth and flat. The floor, too, was very smooth. There might be a light switch, she said. She patted the wall just inside the door from the floor to as high as she could reach, but found nothing. Doon turned left and felt on the other side with the same results. Nothing, he said, very slowly, keeping a hand to the wall and tapping the floor cautiously with their feet before every step. Doon and Lena made their way in opposite directions. Each of them soon came to a corner and turned again. Now they were going deeper into the dark. They both had the same thought. Is this the way out of Ember? A long, dark tunnel? Must we go mile after mile in absolute darkness? But suddenly, Lena gave a yelp of surprise. Something's here on the floor, she said. Her foot had banged against a hard object. She knelt down and touched it cautiously with her hands. It was a metal cube about a foot square. It's a box, I think. 2 boxes, she added as she explored further. Doon took a step toward her in the darkness. His knees banged into a hard edge. There's something here, too, he said, but not a box. He ran his hand along it. It's big. It has a curved edge to it. Well, the boxes are small enough to lift, said Lena. Let's take them out where it's lighter and see what they are. Come, help me. Doon made his way to Lena and picked up one of the boxes. They walked back through the door and set the boxes down a few feet from the river's edge. They were made of dark green metal and had gray metal handles on top, a kind of latch on the side. The latches opened easily. Lena and Doon raised the hinged lids and looked inside. What they saw puzzled and disappointed them. Lena's box was full of smooth white rods, each about 10 inches long. At the end of each one, a little bit of string poked out. In Doon's box were dozens of small packets wrapped in a slippery material. He opened one and found a lot of short wooden sticks, each with a blue blob at the end. Both boxes had a label on the inside of the lid. The label on Lena's box said, candles. The label on Doon's box said, matches. And under it was a white, inch-wide strip of some kind of rough, pebbly material. What does candles mean? Lena said, puzzled. She took out one of the right rods. It felt slick, almost greasy. Said Doon, and what does matches mean? Matches what? He took one small stick from its packet. The blue stuff on the end was not wood. Could it be something to write with, like a pencil? Maybe it writes blue, said Lena. But what's the point of a whole box of tiny pencils, said Doon. I don't understand. He frowned at the little blue-tipped stick. I don't see what else it could be, he said. I'll try writing something with it. On what? Doon looked around. The floor was too damp from the spray of the river to write on. I could try it on the instructions, he said. Lena handed them to him carefully. He rubbed the blue end of the stick along the edge of the paper, and it didn't leave a mark. He rubbed it along his arm. No mark there either. Try this white stuff, Lena said, pointing to the white strip inside the lid of the box. He scraped the blue tip across the rough surface. Instantly, the end of the stick burst into flame. Doon cried out and flung the stick away. It landed on the floor a few feet off, where it burned brightly for just a moment and then sputtered out. They stared at each other, their mouths open in astonishment. There was a strange, sharp smell in the air that smarted their noses. It, said Doon, it makes fire? And it makes light? Said Doon. Let me try one, said Lena. She took a stick from the box and ran it across the rough strip. It blazed up fiercely, but she managed to hold on to it for a moment. Then she felt the heat on her fingers and let go, and the flaming stick dropped over the ledge into the river. Fire sticks? Said Doon. Are they what saves Ember? I don't see how it could be, said Lena. They're so small, they go out so fast. She shivered. This was not turning out the way she thought it would. She held up one of the white things. Anyway, I wonder what these are for. Dune shook his head in bewilderment. Maybe a candle is kind of a handle, he said. Maybe you tie the stick on with the string and then you can hold it longer while it burns. But it would go out just as fast, said Lena. Yeah, said Dune, but it's all I can think of. Well, let's try it, he said. With a great deal of effort, they looped the string of a rod around one of the sticks. Lena held the rod while Dune scraped the blue tip into flame. They watched the stick flare brightly, making shadows jump up behind them. The wood turned black, and the charred fire stick crumbled and dropped to the ground. But the light didn't go out. The string itself had caught fire, and as they watched, it sputtered and smoked and then burned steadily, filling the little room with a warm glow. Oh, my gosh, said Dune in awe. It's a movable light. And that's where we'll stop. See you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.